So, tennis elbow, a condition we see all the time in practice as physiotherapists, but sometimes can be wrongly diagnosed, which means that important things can be missed. So here, let's talk about when is tennis elbow not tennis elbow. Let's dive in. Hey guys, Khalid here, welcome back to Clinical Physio. So let's go through some differential diagnosis, and for this video we've got some awesome graphics for you with our 3D anatomy model. So first of all, let's discuss what is tennis elbow. And if we spin around here to the outside of the model, to the lateral side of the elbow, and if we zoom in a little bit here, we can see all of the key muscles which insert in and around what we call the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. And this bony ridge, as we can see, it's on the outside of our arm. And if you place your arm up in front of you with your palm of your hand facing you, you should be able to feel a really clear bony ridge on the outside of your elbow. And that is your lateral epicondyle. And here we can see some of the key muscles that insert into and around that area. And they are chiefly going to be the wrist extensors of the forearm. So first of all, we can see extensor digitorum here, and we can see extensor carpi radialis brevis here, and extensor carpi ulnaris here. And these are all examples of muscles which insert into that lateral epicondyle. And more commonly, you'll see that in anatomy, this group of tendons here where they all insert into the lateral epicondyle is commonly known as the common extensor origin. So when this group of tendons gets irritated, or perhaps when the common extensor origin gets irritated, perhaps by being overloaded over a short or a long period of time, it creates a tendinopathy of these tendons, and that is what we call tennis elbow. Why does this happen? Most commonly it's to do with repetitive gripping and twisting activities. So next, let's talk about when tennis elbow is tennis elbow. So clearly we're going to be looking for patients who present with pain at that lateral epicondyle of the elbow. So that's where we're expecting them to point to when they tell us where their symptoms are. We're most commonly expecting this patient to be in the age group between 20 and 50, and that's because they are the most likely people to be involved in these repeated gripping and twisting tasks, whether it be in a manual job, whether it be around the house with chores and activities, perhaps things they need to do with their children. And that's going to therefore mean that the common aggravating factors should be that they report that gripping and twisting. And yes, it can happen in tennis players. So the subjective history should give us plenty of clues in order to diagnose tennis elbow. However, we can also look at things objectively. We can palpate around the common extensor origin, around that lateral epicondyle, to see if it reproduces our patient's pain. And we could do various tests such as resisted wrist extension. This is going to really utilize those wrist extensors which insert into the common extensor origin, and this is more commonly known as Cozen's test, that resisted wrist extension to see if it reproduces our patient's pain. We can also think about Maudsley's test, which is resisted middle finger extension. You can remember M for M, Maudsley's for middle. And we can also do something called the grip strength test. This is where we ask our patient to hold a handheld dynamometer, and we ask them to squeeze it to look at their grip strength with their elbow at 90 degrees of flexion. And then we ask them to repeat the test with full elbow extension. And the idea being is that when it comes to tennis elbow, if there's a 5 to 10% deficit in their strength when the elbow is extended, that's a positive for tennis elbow. So now let's dive back into the anatomy model and check out some different conditions which may present like tennis elbow, but ultimately aren't tennis elbow, and they're really important for us to be aware of. So first of all, think about when your patient has a sudden trauma. We do not expect tennis elbow to come on after a trauma. We're more likely to expect it to appear over a gradual period of time with that repeated gripping and twisting, as we said. Now, one thing that can sometimes be missed when it comes to a fracture is a radial head fracture. We can see here how close the radial head is to the lateral epicondyle. So when patients say, oh yeah, it hurts around the outside of my elbow, you can understand why some clinicians may miss the fact that there's been a trauma, and we don't expect tennis elbow with a trauma. Other possibilities is a elbow dislocation. I think we would probably be able to see just from how the elbow looks that it probably isn't tennis elbow. But what we can find sometimes in practice is that repeated instability at the elbow could be misdiagnosed as tennis elbow when it comes to that lateral pain, so look out for that. And the other thing is a common extensor origin rupture. So once again, trauma. If your patient's had a trauma, we're not thinking tennis elbow. It could be one of those other things we've just mentioned. So next, we're not expecting tennis elbow in the adolescent age group, in the teenage or pediatric age group. But there is a very important condition that can present around the lateral elbow in adolescence, and that is osteochondritis dissecans. Now, this is a condition where areas of bone and cartilage don't get the blood supply that they need, and that can unfortunately lead to cell and tissue death of that bone or cartilage, and therefore it's super important that we are looking out for this. Now, the thing is that the most common areas at the elbow to experience osteochondritis dissecans is around the radial head or the capitulum, which is the area on the humerus that the radial head inserts into or articulates with at the elbow. So what might give us a clue that our patient does have osteochondritis dissecans? Well, first of all, it's going to be in that adolescent age group, and you're going to look out for patients who are doing really heavy tasks for a long period of time with a lot of force. So you're looking at your gymnastics, your throwers, where there's a lot of force and movement and weight going through the elbow, whereby that unfortunately over a period of time can lead to that osteochondritis dissecans. So adolescents, less likely tennis elbow. So next, what about if our patient has bilateral elbow symptoms, pain on both sides? Well, this is also less likely to be tennis elbow. We expect it to be more common in the dominant hand because that's going to be the hand that's doing the gripping and the twisting. But bilateral symptoms could be an indication of something like rheumatoid arthritis, or if your patient has psoriasis on the back of their elbows, then you might be thinking about something like psoriatic arthritis. Both of those conditions are more likely to present with multiple joint pain, particularly bilaterally when we're looking at the elbow. And of course, the other thing to consider is a cervical spine related issue. So it could be that your patient has a nerve related issue in the cervical spine that then creates bilateral symptoms down the arms. And that could be what gives them their bilateral elbow pain. So once again, bilateral pain, less likely to be tennis elbow. And speaking of nerve symptoms like we did a second ago, make sure you're thinking about the radial nerve. We can see here how it runs right along the lateral side of the elbow, actually at the lateral epicondyle itself. So if your patient is presenting with nerve-like symptoms, nerve-like pain, shooting pain, sharp pain, an electric or burning-like sensation, if they're presenting with pins and needles or numbness, then think about that radial nerve and if it's being compressed. You can also think about the muscles that the radial nerve innervates, which includes the triceps muscles, but also the wrist extensors. So if your patient is presenting with a more distinct weakness of those muscles, you might be thinking of the radial nerve. So once again, nerve symptoms, less likely to be tennis elbow, could be the cervical spine, as we said a second ago, or could be the radial nerve. And finally, the other symptom that I think we hear about a lot, which is definitely not in keeping with tennis elbow, is clunking, giving way, and instability. What could this be? Well, as we said earlier, it could be a sign of lateral elbow instability. So think about that. And you're also thinking about things like a missed fracture, or unfortunately in that adolescent group, osteochondritis dissecans can present with a clicking or a clunking when the bones start to lose their shape and integrity in the worst case scenarios. So once again, those symptoms are not in keeping with tennis elbow. Now guys, if you're looking for more differential diagnosis around the elbow, then why not check out our fantastic webinar, Differential Diagnosis of the Wrist and Elbow. This is a fantastic tutorial which is a part of our clinical physio membership, and you can find this in the description below below with a link to our membership, which gives you great access to our amazing content on a subscription basis. It's well worth checking out. But otherwise, if you've enjoyed this video, please support us by smashing that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out more of our resources on our website, clinicalphysio.com, or on our Instagram account @clinicalphysio. I'm Khalid. Thank you so much for watching. See you soon here on Clinical Physio.